Hello and welcome to the Hedonistic Way at Midday show. I am Renee Mayne and here we are together. I'm excited. The beautiful and amazing Vanessa Florence was due to come on and join us live today on the show, but we've had to reschedule for Friday. And so stay tuned because the conversation will be happening. However, we've had to reschedule for this Friday. So we will see you this Friday. But I still felt really called to come on here today and share with you guys what I'm feeling. I feel like there's so many musings that are happening within my mind and within my field, and I really wanted to take this opportunity to give them airtime. So hang around as we dive in, and if you're joining me live, pop in and say hello and let me know how you're feeling and what's going on for you. I spent the weekend at the Seven Sisters Festival, and this might sound like an absolute act of rebellion given everything that's happening right now, and we're encouraged to stay inside, technically as of today. But the Seven Sisters Festival is a place of absolutely love, and over the weekend I felt like that's what we really needed to do. We needed to send love out into the world, and it was a time for me personally to just really dive in and anchor that within myself, so I can enter the world and can continue to walk my talk. And I feel like now we need hedonism more than ever before. Re-entering the world has been really interesting because we come back into the practicality of it, and given this time, I think for me it's a real reminder of, we have to be respectful and show compassion, because we're all so diverse in how we show up and how we perceive what's happening. And for those of you who don't know, I presented a workshop on the weekend for our maidens at Seven Sisters, so for teenage girls. And in that, we're talking about trust. And Mark Boris says, see things as they are, not better than what they are, not worse for what they are. And we were talking about it in a context of life, as we know it. And but I think it's really relevant. It's feeling really relevant to where I'm at today and what I'm feeling, because we can't be ignorant to what's going on around us. But at the same time, in the midst of all the chaos is, the cosmos, and there has to be a level of trust. And I feel absolutely unafraid about what's unfolding, because I have such trust in the universe, and I know that everything is happening for us. And that's exactly what I was saying, talking about with the maidens and the teenagers at our jam session over the weekend. For me, on one side of the coin is truth, and the other side is trust. And for me, remembering that and anchoring that the universe is always working for us, not to us, really allows us to be in a place of trust and empowerment. And how can I lead and not react? For me, I don't know about you guys, for me, the biggest challenge right now is how can I hold my own soul and without getting swept up in other people's thought processes. So that for me has been really real and really interesting. And what I'm using this time for is to just see where other people's thought process is, and some of it resonates and some of it's a real reminder about what feels good for me and what doesn't feel good for me. And so it's not a projection or a reflection or anything else. So that is really interesting for me, and that's been a really nice moment of just of clarity and that time to ponder that. So something that came up for me this morning was so often we want to be at the end of the road. And even on the weekend I was talking about our teenage years, how we view them as an inconvenience, and it's something that you just have to get through, both for the teenager and the parent, because you're not a kid anymore, but yet you're not an adult, but all you want to do is be an adult. So it's a time where they're in the gap. And I think so many of us can resonate with this time in our lives, is because we're here right now, but we're just kind of getting through it, and all we want to do is get to the other end, right? So we treat it like a bit of an inconvenience. But what I was saying to the maidens on the weekend was, what if we're the first wave of ascension that fully stepped in and owned this present moment and owned it like a friggin' boss, and had the courage to step up and be who we really are, no matter what's happening around us. And it's really amazing to feel what these teenagers are really thinking. And what, for me, there was just such deep resonance in these workshops, because our children, we did this process, right? So it was a jam session. So we went through a spoken word process at the end, and they created their own spoken word pieces for the first time. And then we shared them and performed them in front of each other. It was amazing. And the really cool thing about this process that I took them through is it gets them out of their logical mind and into their subconscious thoughts and into their heart space. And what was shared was really incredible, because our teenagers, for what it popped up a few times, is they're sick of hearing about the coronavirus. And and they're really worried. They're genuinely worried about our climate and about climate change. And, they're genuinely fearful about Donald Trump. And this is not just one or two teenagers. This happened over the course of 2 days, over several people sharing their innermost sacred thoughts. So they deeply, deeply care. So, we spoke about fear and how so often we try to avoid it, and we try to push it down and pretend that it's not there. And here's the tip, is that we're not fucking fooling anyone. The fear is not going to go away. It's still going to be there, and you can't actually move on or do anything really well until you give it some airtime. And that takes courage to be able to do that. So in sharing with, these beautiful teenagers, and then re-entering into the world after being in this beautiful, epic love bubble, is the fear, come up again. And what arose in me was frustration and anger. And what I was kind of dancing with was not judging another person for where they're at. Whether I agree or disagree, it's not up to me, because everyone has their own journey with it. But here's the thing, is that we can't control what's going on. The only thing we can control is how we show up to it. And for me, that tapping into our own hedonism and that unity consciousness is so vital to remember that something bigger is happening, and we just need to surrender that trust and focus on how we show up every single day and how we feel. So it's a real time of what is dying within me right now. What are some of the old patterns that's happening, or some of these traits, these old thinkings or stories or whatever? What narrative do we need to dissolve and is calling us to go, you know what, we don't need this anymore. And I see this time as a time of balance and restoring balance and reconciliation that's happening within ourselves. So we're dying and we're getting reborn in this very moment. So it's not a case of just getting through it and wanting it to be over already. Is how many times, what's it going to take for us to get to the point to wake the fuck up and stop giving our power away to other people? This breaks my heart. I think how easy we just hand it over to other people. This is our fucking happiness. How can we give it away so freely to other people? I don't understand. It just feels really real and really big. It's so important that we understand that we can't control things, and we try to cling to things so tightly. And there's just such beauty in that trust and that surrendering of just going, you know what, like I don't know the outcome. But here's the thing, you don't need to know the outcome. We don't need to know anything more than what we do right now in this moment to change how we feel and how we perceive the world. That's the thing that we need to wake up to, right? Is we don't need anything else. We don't need to know. We don't need to get to the other side. We just need to trust what is happening right now is for us, and how can we utilize this time for our own evolution? How much do we trust? Because that is what this is about. As I was saying to the teenagers on the weekend, is that on the flip side of all adversity, you've gone through adversity in your life. There is no doubt in my mind. What was at the other end? It was gold, right? It was gold. So we know enough that in every single shitstorm, something amazing happens. There is a connection that comes. There is an anchor of love that gets swept through us. And that is what we need to trust, and that is what we need to surrender to, and listen to that quiet voice of our soul. And what does this evolution mean for us right now in this moment? Yes, take all the practical precautions, and I'm not saying to succumb to the fear, but let's be real and respectful, because right now we're in a state of privilege. If you can go to the supermarket and stock your pantries, some people live week by week. They don't have that luxury to do that. So at some point, if we're able to work from home, that is a privilege, because you think about artists, events, like there's people that are out there, musicians, like there's small business, hairdressers, beauty salons, like there's so many businesses that are having a real crisis right now, and the ripple effect of this is absolutely huge. So, I think that we're in a state of privilege right now. I admit I have absolute privilege right now because I can work from home and I can go to the supermarket and stock my pantry up. However, I'm choosing not to because I feel like I need to show up for myself and for my children and lead by example and go, you know what, I'm not going to react to this situation, but how can I respond? And there's something else that's been floating through my mind today, and that is the love languages. And I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the 5 love languages, but one of the love languages is physical touch. And I was curious, and I'm thinking, okay, so if we're in lockdown for the next 2 weeks, let's say at least, I don't know, it's obviously changing moment by moment, but if we're in lockdown, and my thought process is not about the fear of the coronavirus, because that will run its own course, and and I'm not the expert, I'm not a doctor, I'm not on the ground thinking about how we can control this and stop it from spreading and everything like that. But I'm more of, if people are in lockdown, what happens to their mental state? What happens to, is it 1 in 3 people who suffer from mental illness, and this lonely epidemic that's happening right now is what happens if they're in lockdown? How well equipped are we to help these people? What do we do? So I feel like companies have an obligation, if you can work at home, they've got an obligation now to make sure that the emotional well-being and the spiritual well-being, the emotional health of their staff and their employees, they have the tools that they can connect in and not change not change their mental state. But let's go beyond that, is how we can use this to evolve into more of who we are, and use this expansion to to heighten these things. So that's what I've been pondering today, and getting back to the love language of touch, because I thought, okay, we're being encouraged to minimize our touch with people, and I find this really curious. I'm curious about what this means for the people who do have the love language of physical touch. They need touch. It's real and it's innate within them, and we all need some form of physical touch. And I've been doing my research because I thought, okay, what happens to these people? Because this need is real for their emotional health, right? They need physical touch. So I wanted to speak just for a moment about this love language, because there are 8 billion people in this world, and physical touch has the largest percentage out of the 5 love languages. So 20% of the population has a love language of physical touch, right? And after that, if it's not your first love language, it's your secondary love language. So we're talking about 20% of 8 billion people are going to be affected by not having any touch, right? So that is 1.6 billion people that will be affected by this. 1.6 billion people have the love language of physical touch. This is crazy. So what I was thinking about what is physical touch, and although touch is so important, I wanted to just open up that, because I thought if people are going to, people are going to minimize this physical touch, yet it's such a prominent love language within us that affects our emotional health, then what is touch, and how can we open up that gateway? And touch comes in many forms, and we can be touched by so many things. So think about spoken word. That can touch you, right? That touches people. So right now we have to open up our minds and look at the possibilities within the resources that we have. So if your love language is touch, like, you can be touched by music, you can be touched by spoken word, you can be touched by the elements. These things are still available to us. They're things that will never be taken away from us. So, and this is a time where you go, okay, and let's pleasure, self-pleasure. This is not outside of us. So these things we don't need to give up. And the power, believe it or not, is still within us now to step into more of who we are and evolve into this unity consciousness that we're being nudged, not so gently, into creating. So that is that's where I'm at, and that is what I'm thinking, is to open up our minds and get some creative thinking, happening. And I know that a lot of businesses and a lot of services are scared right now. And it's really interesting because this morning I was thinking about Bra Queen, and Bra Queen actually started right in the middle of the global financial crisis. And it just effortlessly went off and went crazy, and it grew so quickly. And Bra Queen was very kind to me. I loved it. I loved what I was doing, and it gave me an opportunity to make money and meet so many amazing people and grow this beautiful community. And that I'm really grateful for. But that actually started right in the middle of the global financial crisis. And I'm going to put something out there. It's probably grew so quickly because of the global financial crisis. So I feel like we've been through enough adversity in our life to know that on the flip side is absolute gold and expansion. We know this to be true. I feel like this is very much the survival layer of our evolution, right? Like, we actually know this because we've experienced it so many times before. But where I'm at right now is, how then can we surrender more? Because we know that we will grow to it. And so that's why we're like, let's just get to the other side already. And we want to skip to the end, but we're in the gap. And here's the thing, is we're always going to be in the gap because we're infinite beings, we're infinite souls. So how can we embrace right here, right now? And one of my most favorite quotes in the world is by Abraham Esther Hicks, and that is, in the richness of now, we don't yearn for anything. And that is where we're at. And so let's not just want to be on the other side. Let's use this time to evolve and expand into more of who we are. And how are we going to use this time to evolve and to nurture ourselves and to grow and not squander this amazing opportunity that has been given to us to grow and to expand. And I feel like this is such a beautiful, beautiful time for us to really delve in deep. And I'm thinking about ways that I can help support you guys in that. And so I'm just having a feel into what, kind of, if there's anything else. I've been a bit ranty right now in this sharing because I could feel it brewing in me. And as camps get cancelled and people are fearful and angry and all of these things, but I look at my girls and they have love in their hearts and they're watching what the world is, what they're seeing in the world, and they don't like what they see. And in the teenagers that I got to spend so much time with over this weekend at the festival, is they don't like what they're seeing in the world, not by what's happening, but by how people are actually behaving. And where is the love? Where is the love? Now we need to show love more than ever before. So up your devotion, up your practice, do what you need to do, and let's build the hedonism. Let's cultivate the hedonism, and let's get it going. So I'm thinking that I have a Facebook group called The Hedonistic Way, and I've been a bit crap really in it, and it sits there and I haven't posted for ages. But I'm feeling like now is just spending some time in there and just going, okay, like let's ramp up the hedonism and let's get it going, and let's just use this time to evolve through it all. So I'm thinking that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm thinking, and I'll continue to pop in and share what's happening. But I just want to reinforce that, that as much as we feel like we need to know more, we actually don't need to know anything else than what we know right now. Everything we need to know is made available to us. We already have right now. What are we doing with it is the question, and how are we showing up? So that is me. If you have any questions or thoughts, I'd really like to hear them and share them with me in the comments, and I would absolutely love to hear where you're at. And if you want to join the Facebook group, I'll share the link in the comments below. I won't put it in the post because Facebook algorithms and shit. So but anyway, guys, thank you for popping in and watching, and so much love to you. And I will be back on Friday with the amazing, beautiful Vanessa Florence, and we will continue that, or have that conversation that has been rescheduled, but it will be now on midday this Friday. So we'll see you then. Bye guys.